Imagine a story that spans hundreds of millions of years, from water to land, from tiny creatures to the largest predator that ever walked the earth. Today, on Paleoscope, we follow the evolutionary journey that leads to Tyrannosaurus rex, the most famous dinosaur of all time. This is the evolution of Tyrannosaurus rex. Our story begins about 380 million years ago, during the Late Devonian. Meet Panderichthys, a small lobe-finned fish with a flat head and fins that were starting to look like arms and legs. It was about 1 meter long and lived in shallow waters, where it could lift itself slightly out of the mud. Inside its fins were bones that looked like early versions of fingers. That means the transition from fins to limbs, the step from sea to land, had already begun. This little fish was the foundation for every land-dwelling vertebrate that would come after, including the dinosaurs. Next comes Dimetrodon, living around 295 million years ago in the early Permian. Despite appearances, Dimetrodon was not a dinosaur. It was a synapsid, part of the group that would one day give rise to mammals. It grew up to 3 meters long, had sharp teeth, and a tall sail on its back. Scientists believe the sail helped control body temperature or signal to others. Dimetrodon shows us that by this point, life on land was thriving. Large predators, new body plans, new possibilities. It didn't look like a dinosaur yet, but the land was ready for the next evolutionary leap. Fast forward to about 231 million years ago, the Late Triassic. Here we meet Herrerasaurus, one of the earliest known dinosaurs. Herrerasaurus was about 4 meters long, walked on 2 legs, and was built for speed. It had sharp claws, serrated teeth, and a long tail for balance. This was one of the first real carnivorous dinosaurs. Small, agile, and efficient. Evolution was refining the blueprint that would later define the great theropods, including Tyrannosaurus rex. Jump ahead to the early Cretaceous, about 125 million years ago in what is now China. Here lived Dilong Paradoxus, a small, feathered ancestor of the T-Rex. Dilong was only around 2 meters long. Its fossilized impressions show traces of simple feathers, evidence that early tyrannosaurs were covered in fuzz. These animals were agile, fast, and warm-blooded, hunters of small prey. A close relative, Yutyrannus wally, lived around the same time. It grew up to 9 meters long and still had feathers. These discoveries tell us that the ancestors of T-Rex started small, feathery, and fast, long before they became giants. Finally, we reach the Late Cretaceous, around 68 to 66 million years ago. This is the world of Tyrannosaurus rex, one of the largest land predators ever discovered. T-Rex grew up to 12 meters long and weighed more than 7 tons. Its skull alone measured over 1.5 meters, built for bone-crushing power. Its bite force was the strongest of any land animal known, capable of snapping bones with a single crunch. It had tiny arms, massive legs, and huge lungs for endurance. This was the final form, the apex predator at the end of a line that began with a small fish in shallow Devonian waters. From small fish to a giant bone-crushing predator, that's the evolutionary journey of Tyrannosaurus rex.